actually struggle a lot with the idea of promoting myself as a sustainable designer. There's part of me that doesn't want to be known that way because I want to be recognized just for pure design sensibility. But at the same time, I know that putting myself out there and putting the brand out there and being transparent about what I'm doing can inspire the next generation of designers as well as consumers to make better choices. And so I think it's important that we kind of focus on what we're doing right, but also more importantly, what's not being done yet and how we can make improvements. The stigma really should be around the unsustainable methods of production and the way we treat humans who are working on fast fashion companies and the way we grow that cotton or that fiber with all the pesticides, or the way we dye and just dump all that water, the chemical laden water into the rivers. That should be where there's a stigma, and that's what I'm working towards, is to try to really focus on that. The people who shop for financial reasons is a different category, but the young generation that's just shopping for the thrill of shopping, I think after a time that's going to burn itself out. There is really no way to educate them without kind of overburdening of guilt. But I do think things like Fashion Revolution campaign are going to have a big difference, because they're really showing that you can ask certain questions of the companies you're buying from. We see a lot of companies out there talking about what they're doing right. And that's great. And for the most part, I think a lot of them are doing what they're saying they're doing. However, there's still a lot to be done, and there's still a lot of changes that need to be made. And once we start addressing those conversations and really making those changes, I think there's going to be a major shift in the industry. I think the most important thing that we can do, and this is something I learned from my mom when I was a lot younger, was calculating your cost per wear of garments. And I think it's a really important value that we don't do anymore. And that's something that my mom grew up with and is really easy to apply. So rather than looking at the value of something for its base cost, you really calculate how many times you're going to wear it and then how much each wear costs. I think it's really important to decide your moral compass and where that's leading you, and then take it from there. So for some people, it's going to be water conservation and minimizing water usage. For others, it'll be chemical use, and that happens to be my case. And then also looking at the end of life of the garments, how they're worn, how they're taken care of, how long the consumer will be able to keep them, what happens to them after the consumer no longer wants them. So those are really important questions that I think not a lot of designers ask, because there's so much struggle just getting it to the point of sale. One of my designers recently told me that she went into an interview with a company and told them that she was a sustainable designer, and they said, well, we don't really work that way, but we're welcome to have you try and make changes if you can. Which I think is a really great thing, especially for a student to have the guts to go in and just identify herself as a sustainable designer, even though she's never really worked in the industry before. I do think that at some point it's not going to be an alternative. So everyone is going to have to understand sustainability within fashion, and at some point we're going to stop calling it sustainable fashion, and we're going to start saying that that is fashion and everything else is unsustainable fashion. And that's my goal for my lifetime, at least.